Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to share this space with you. I am seeing some familiar faces, but I'm also seeing some new faces slash names. So I'm just really happy to have you. Thanks for taking the time, right? Although it seems like that's pretty much all we have on our hands lately. But I do appreciate it because we have lots to do in the world, and anytime people take time out of their day to be with me, I'm just very grateful for it. And so, if we could just collectively take a moment, right? I mentioned a little bit early before we started recording that my level of empath is if there's tension or people aren't breathing as a group, even though we are online. To me, time and space doesn't exist. I'm still going to feel you. So every now and then I'll just pause and have you take a nice big breath. And so if everyone could do that for a moment, just get in your body, right? We're going to be doing a couple of exercises today to show you how to take that a step further. But for now, just bring yourself to yourself, right? All of the thoughts and the worries and the stresses and everything, just go ahead and bring them back and just take a couple of breaths and just be here now. Yeah, good, good. Well, again, thank you. But also just collectively, anytime we gather, our collective focus matters. So I just want to send out some love and appreciation to those people in the world that are, what we would call on the front lines. Just sending them gratitude and love and hoping and wishing and praying that they're safe and well and yeah, just loving them through this. There is a really interesting thing happening in our world. It's for me, it's why this sacred roots conversation is important for me, because I look at it like a tree is amazing and it's beautiful and it can grow like amazingly vast and strong and powerful. But if the roots aren't anchored, the tiniest blast of wind will knock it down. So those roots matter. They're vital. They're the most important part of that tree. They are where the tree takes in the nutrients. It's where it drinks in the water and the soil and how it brings it into its body. It's when the wind blows, it has something to anchor onto, and it has it gives it levity, not levity. It gives it leverage. There's our levity. It gives it leverage against the storm, right? So we're going to be talking about what that looks like for us as humans, like how we can reconnect to those sacred roots within ourselves and how we can pull in the nutrition of who we are and the nutrition of our stability and our anchored ability to connect with this planet and get through this together, right? And so as we go through this conversation, if you have questions, you are welcome to chat them or type them up in the chat room. My husband, Jonathan, is also available. He'll be talking with you. So he's going to kind of monitor that for me, just so I can focus and be present with you. And we're just going to get through these next 2 hours and hopefully have you walk away with something that nourishes you. That's always the ultimate goal for me, is to give you something that you're going to be able to walk away with and use out there, regardless if there's a crisis, but use it even more so now because we've got so much fluctuation and chaos going on in our lives, right? So we are definitely in a state of great change. And I don't know about you, but for me personally, what this time is being shown for me is I am reevaluating everything in my life where I may have taken some things for granted and just kind of like, well, I can always get food. I don't have to worry if I'm wasteful. I don't have to worry about stocking up or respecting it. Let's just be frank about it. When we take anything for granted, we don't have the respect for it. But once those things become a scarcity or even being taken away from us, we now appreciate it. And so on a global scale, I feel like that's what's happening on one tiny fraction of a moment. in our development is it's helping us reevaluate what matters to us, to help us reevaluate what are we willing to leave behind because it really isn't that important. What are we holding on to that's weighing us down? So for me, I am definitely taking some inventory and taking some stock in my life of what really matters for me and what doesn't, and where is it burdening me, and where can I let that go? So wherever you might see that for yourself, it'll be different for every single person, and every single person's experience with that conversation is valid, right? Everyone will have their own take on that. And so it's an important time for us. But in that detachment is also making the space for what is important for us, what is coming. All of this clutter and noise and distraction and really working ourselves into the ground to be successful or create something or be good people or whatever that game is over there. I think we're starting to realize that maybe we've been heading down the wrong road. And so the questions, right? I'm very philosophical in these times where I'm like, then what matters? Where's my identity? Who am I in this? Who am I in this? Who was I before? And who am I going forward? And do those things align for me? So there's a lot of deconstruction. In my work, I do a deconstruction, reconstruction kind of model where we get to break it down. We've got to break it down, see what's not working, so that we can collect the pieces and restructure it to move forward in a way that actually works for us. I like that model because it emulates to me that nothing is wrong. Nothing is bad. It's just, is it working or not? So it always gives me the opportunity to reflect and look at what I need to leave behind if it's weighing me down. And we might do that on an individual level every now and then, but now we're doing it on a global level, on many levels within that global level. Just take a nice big breath on that. Just take a nice big breath. Yeah. It's big, right? It's big. This is not for the faint of heart. Those of us that are on this planet, this is big. So yeah, this is our opportunity to let go of what we are attached to. I look at attachment in a way like years ago. So I do mandala painting, right? And I had this amazing experience with one of my mandalas where it was life-changing, and it was my favorite. And I remember a friend of mine came over for brunch one day, and she was talking about this mandala, and I was talking about how I was going to sell most of them, and she said, "Well, if I had the money, you know which one I would buy." Wink, wink. And I knew that's the one she meant. Excuse me. And I went into my office where I had the mandalas, being stored. And her birthday was coming up, and I went into the office to get something that had nothing to do with this conversation, just something random. And my guides go, "That's for her," pointing to the mandala in question. And I felt so much resistance to that. Like how dare you? You know that's my favorite one. This is the one that gave me my biggest experience. Why would you want to give this away? Why would you want me to do this? And I was a little pissed about it. And I didn't say anything to her when I came back out. I kind of was, grumpy about it and just sat with that for a little bit. And then I realized that item didn't make my experience. And so therefore, by giving it away, selling it or getting rid of it or not having that attachment anymore doesn't make my experience go away. The instant we are attached to something, we give our power away. The instant. If we say, I need that to have this, we just gave everything away. And so her birthday was coming up. I wrapped it up. I gave it to her for her birthday. I didn't even sell it to her. And I got a really important message out of that, of that mandala didn't make me have the awakening that I had in that process. So therefore, giving that away wasn't going to take away that experience. And I see a lot of us in the spiritual and the magical communities saying that this crystal is my intuition, or this oracle deck is the only one I can read. It's the only way I have intuition, or this or that or the other is the only way I can. But if we're putting value in these external things, those external things are going to go away. I've been watching this pattern for a few years, and I didn't anticipate it being on such a large scale. But for me, that's what it's whispering about. It's what one of the layers is where are we putting our power? Where are we putting our identity? And where are we putting our value? Because if we are putting any of those on anything on the outside of us, that thing can go away. Then what? We are screwed. And so another level of this is for us to reclaim the power, the identity, the value, and placing it where it actually belongs, as opposed to an item that can go away, or a belief, or a thought, or a skill. Anything that can go away, we're giving our power away. So just kind of sitting with that, right? The invitation of any of these concepts and thoughts is just an invitation. If it doesn't resonate with you, you are more than welcome to throw them away. I'm quite the ponderer. I like to ponder these things, and it gets a little deep in here. So yeah, there it is. Yeah. Oh, hey, Joan. Hi, honey. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you made it. Good. So at this time, both on the macrocosm, both on the scale of planetary shifting, but then also in yourself, these experiences aren't easy. This is not like, as the individual going through this, you are being called forth to be your best version to date. That feels big. Minus all the stuff that's going on, minus the catalyst as to why that's happening. When you just feel into that, and you just feel into that statement, holy crap, it's asking a lot of us, right? It's asking a lot of us. It's not a place for us to have excuses. It's not a place for us to have distractions. And I think collectively we've been making so many excuses and being distracted and saying we didn't have time, that perhaps that's part of this happening, is to take those excuses away from us, right? Because what is happening is multi-layered. It's not one thing is happening. Each and every person is being supported and guided through this event. And it's up to us to be able to tap into that, to get all of the juice out of it, all of the nutrition into the roots, right? Because it's happening, and we have one of two choices. We can either get involved in a fear-based level of it, or we can get involved in an aligned level of it. Yeah, I think you know which one I'm rooting for. Rooting for, get it. My guys are funny. So this is for those of us, and this is kind of an interesting conversation. So a lot of us have been on a path like this for a while, right? We've done the spiritual work, and in still the process of it, right? By no means have we mastered anything, right? But we've been on a journey. We've delved into the mysteries of who we are. We've asked questions. We've wondered and been curious and experimented and taken classes and adopted teachings and verbiage and language and all of these things to develop ourselves, right? That's what we've been doing. Part of me at this point sees it as when we had the luxury of not being in crisis, it was fun. It feels, from this standpoint, looking back on it now, it feels like that was a fun project. I'm going to dabble over here, I'm going to play with this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to learn this, and not to minimize any of it, of course. But now that we're in this mode, it feels much deeper as to why we've been doing that. Where we had the luxury of calling it spirituality, and I'm walking the spiritual path, and I get to practice my chakras, and I'm meditating, and that feels lovely. Even though at that point it probably did feel like work, right? Those of you that know me, shadow work, it's not fun, but it's necessary. But back then I had the luxury of doing it because I was in the mood for it. Or because something is like showing up in my face and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll work on that now. But some things change now. In this moment in time, it's for a reason. And the other day, my guide said to me, because I was asking questions and I was in the, not the why is this happening, but just kind of in the pondering of what's going on. And my guide said very clearly to me, this is what you train for. This is what all of that is what you've trained for this. All of the practices, all of the disciplines, all of the experimenting with new concepts and new thoughts and new philosophies, adopting and throwing things away and trying new things on, and it doesn't resonate. Oh, wait, this resonates. All of that play was for this. And by no means are we finished. This isn't the only event that will happen in humanity's awakening. But what we've been practicing is for this. This is what we've trained for. Take a nice big breath around that. Just take that in or reject it, right? There's the choice, but just, be in the willingness of taking that in. These are unprecedented times. We're not messing around anymore. It excites me. I try to calm myself because I know there's a lot of people hurting. But on a macrocosm level, this excites me. This is humanity's great awakening moment. And yes, on the microcosm, on the individual level, there's still work to do and there's places to help, and there's the reality of it, right? There's front lines of it. I get that, not minimizing that. But I do have a tendency to look at the big picture, the macro, right? So just take a nice big breath in that. And I don't know if this relates to you or if you've seen this in your life with others, but humans have this tendency to do a little bit of a spiritual bypassing where we like the busy work. We like all the classes and we like playing with oracle cards and we like being distracted with the next new thing and the next new topic. And we like to bounce around a little bit because we have the luxury of doing it that way. It's not wrong. So I'm not making any of this wrong, right? But have you noticed over the last year, maybe year and a half, spiritual bypassing isn't sticking anymore. It's not enough. It's not feeding us the way it did maybe 10 years ago when we had the space to play with it. Right? Does that make sense to you? Like if you have questions around that, go ahead and type them up. But it's like the busy work is over. It's time to dig in and implement and put into action what we've been practicing. And by no means do we have it all figured out. So I want you to just take a breath in. You don't have to have it mastered in order to be involved. So just take a sigh of relief. That's not what I mean, right? We are ever evolving, ever growing, ever expanding beings. So it's about what do you know right now and how can you implement it right now that's going to make a difference in this now. Okay. Yeah, I feel a couple of you kind of held on to that for a second. Good, right? So where is spiritual bypassing not working for you? Where have you noticed it in the last couple of years of it just not being fun anymore? You realize it's more of the hamster wheel kind of thing going, where if I just keep going, if I just keep going, if I just keep doing all the classes and reading all the books and taking all the things and da 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 da, one day I will be spiritual. So what we're doing is we're putting all of our power in these external spiritual experiences, books, teachers, mentors. Every time we do that, we give that power away. So again, it's time to reclaim that. We already are. There's no more work in that energy. It's time to claim that and implement what we know now. Yeah. Yeah. Good. You'll see me you'll see me fade out for a minute, and all I'm doing is I'm just asking, is there anything else that they want to say around that? I have a tendency to translate things for them. So if you saw my eyes glaze over, that's what that was. Good. Yeah, it's just time for us to have something more anchored, something true, to call back all those pieces and parts we've been giving away and to realign them for ourselves, to reclaim them within, right? Feel into that for yourself. Feel just that calling them back in. Just feel into that. That's one of the most delicious feelings for me. It's like, oh, I've been giving it away. I've been pushing it away. I've been not valuing it. I've not been listening to myself. I've not had self-care. All of those things we throw out, just call them back, right? Yeah. So there's 3 major reasons I wanted to have this webinar. There's 3 major passions inside of me that that are my why. Why am I doing this, right? Number 1, I'm an empath and I can feel pretty much everybody. I don't like it. I don't want to feel. I can usually feel collective global energies. Like around Christmas time, it's not my favorite time of the year. I can feel everyone's stress. So when there's a collective shift, it impacts me. So that sounds selfish. It may be a little bit, but it also, the more I can help others clarify and align and come back into their center, good. They'll go help 2 people and they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends. That's how we affect change globally, 1, 2, 3 people at a time, right? So yeah, there's I want to help so that I can feel into that, and I feel like this is needed, right? Does that make sense? I'm rambling. Alignment matters. Number 2, alignment matters. For me, if I don't have my alignments, I'm screwed. It's just that simple. And that's on a good day. That's on a day when there's no pandemic, fear-based thing going on. That's just on a regular Tuesday. If I don't have alignment, I have no guideposts, right? Imagine the bumpers in a bowling lane, right? When the bumpers come up for little kids and they get to bowl and they're gonna hit it, right? Because it's bumpering down as it goes down. If I don't have alignment, those bumpers go away and I end up in the ditch because I have no guidepost. I have no contrasting centered energy to navigate this life. And what's really fascinating to me now that I think about it, I've been using the word alignment for about really heavily in the last month, like before all of this happened. I didn't realize what was going to happen, but I kept hearing from my guides, get your alignment, get your alignment. And then it started using the word all the time, like almost to the point where I was annoying myself because I'd say it like every 5 words. I'm like, okay, I get it. But now I understand, without our alignment, we are just in the storm. We are in the storm. But with alignment, we're in the middle, we're in the eye of the storm, and we have better perspective, clarity, focus, and we're coming from a place that's more calculative instead of reactive, right? From a more proactive place. And then number 3, this is it. This is our time. This is what we've trained for. So I'm super stoked that you're here today, that we're all here, that we're doing this. Like, this is it. This is one of many great human awakening shifts that we're experiencing. So, yeah, I'm going to want to be involved in that. Just saying. Just saying. So I want to just check in, if you don't mind, and just ask my beautiful husband if there's any questions that are going on.
Well, we had a few observations about the breathing, finding it difficult to breathe in.
Yeah.
Almost like the intake was hard, the in breath. And Joan just mentioned that she knows she's completely out of alignment right now. She's really in a lot of fear. And we both know Joan personally, and we know that there's some background information that we know, and plus what's happening in the world. I can only imagine right now how much that's impacting. But she's pointing out, she feels she's completely out of alignment right now.
Yeah. It segments us, right? It scatters us into the wind. And yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, the thing about the intake, that's a marker for me in resistance. And I'm not saying you're resisting what's happened or what I'm saying, or you're resisting me. I'm saying we just have a kind of a constant stream of resistance right now. We're in protection mode. That's what happens when there's chaos or change in front of us, especially if we didn't ask for it. And so there's a resistance to it because we're kind of digging in, like bracing for the storm. And that's what this time is that I'm offering you, is to just for a couple of hours let that go and breathe into that. And it's this weight right here, because the chest plate, right? We're instinctively just pushing back away from all of this hurt and the what ifs and the I don't know what's and all of that, right? So we just end up having this tension in the body. So just note that and just pay attention to that as we talk. Yeah. I wanted to share with you a message. Sometimes my guides will come to me and they'll say, we want to meditate with you. And then they'll say, and get paper, which usually means I'm going to transcribe a message. Okay. And so I just want to read this to you. And it's kind of an automatic writing, but not really. I'm just really present to that. I'm the secretary and I'm taking notes for what I'm not going to call them my bosses. I'm taking notes what my guides are saying. So I just want to read this to you verbatim and breathe into it as I do, right? And they're talking, the way they gave me the notes is it's as if I am saying this instead of them saying this. I just wanted you to know who's talking. All of these practices have prepared us for right now. All the meditating, being positive, centering, cultivating alignment was to prepare us for this. We have been training for this moment of awakening. We don't know what's going to happen, how this will go, or how we'll end up after it's complete. We have zero control over the whole event. We do have control over who we are and within the center of the storm. This is where our focus will best support. And feel that. We are not going to be able to be of service by focusing on the storm. We've got to get our alignment before we get into the game, right? Before we get into whatever level of service you want to be in this world at this time, we got to get that alignment first, or you'll just it's like a tornado, right? If you don't have anything substantial to hold on to, you'll just get carried away. So we need to find something substantial to hold on to, and that's within, right? Remember I said anything we put our power in that can go away will go away. So we get to find that substantial anchor inside. Okay. So I have a little bit of an exercise for you just to kind of demonstrate what that is, right? I imagine when I talk to people, like when I'm in coaching or class work, I see these little thought tentacles, if you will, these little streams of consciousness coming from the mind. What's going to happen? How is this going to go? What if I fail? What if blah, blah, blah? All of these little energy tentacles going out into the world. Anytime we leave ourselves, we are not within, right? Anytime we leave and we put too much focus on the outside world, we are vacant. We're not being in the present. I know we know this, but I'm going to say that anyway, right? These are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Totally makes sense, right? But how often do we do it? Every distraction, every worry, every fear, everything that takes us outside of ourselves takes a little piece of us with it. So we are stretched. We are stretched thin. So that's not alignment. We are being susceptible to everything, to having breakdowns, to having breakdown in our immune system, but also emotional breakdowns and physical breakdowns, mental breakdowns, because it's like a pie crust that's been rolled out too thinly and it starts creating holes. When we stretch out too much, we start having holes in the aura, in our four-body system, and our energy leaks out and we have no vitality for self, which then breaks our immune system down. So what I want you to do is just kind of tune into yourself for a moment and not do anything. Just recognize how many tentacles you have going out. Just kind of feel into your auric field, your bubble, right? And feel how stretched you are, how far those tentacles are reaching. So I don't know who this is, but I feel like I don't know who this is. Feels tired, right? Just kind of feel into that. Yeah. My device. I'm so sorry, I got distracted with a comment. Interesting observation. I have had dreams the last few nights where I've woken up, had difficult breathing, and thinking I need to get my device. I have no idea what that device is, love. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's mechanical. So feel into all those tentacles, right? Close your eyes even. And one of the ways I like to center myself is putting one hand on my heart and one hand on the higher heart, not so much throat, but like right here in the sternum of the chest. And then when I close my eyes, the awareness drops into my hands, which then drops into my heart space. Okay. It's just a really quick way to bring yourself back. And while you're doing that, each tentacle I want you to call back in. Just want you to call them back in. What's at the other end of it's going to be fine for this moment. You can let go just for this moment. Okay? Just call this back in. Right? Is that feeling emotional? Feel like there's some emotion around that. We don't realize how much we're harming ourselves, how sad it is. This is a form of self-abuse. And we don't mean it to be, it just is. Because we're so out there and making sure everyone else is okay that nobody's home and we don't realize when we're hurting. So just recognize if you have emotion around that, recognize if you're sad or you're just in the realization that, oh, I've been doing that. Just forgive it, right? It's okay. It's not wrong. It's just not working for you. So just call back those tentacles. Maybe even breathe with each one. That helps too sometimes, right? Just breathe it back in. Just breathe it back in. I'm just going to give you a minute for that because yeah, just a lot. right? Be sure to check in the back. I don't know who just thought of that, but be sure and check behind you as well. Because we get sneaky. We're like, no, 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 I'm good. But back there, it's a distraction because we don't see it. So just kind of turn around in your mind's eye and notice what's behind you as well and pull back that energy. Okay? And we're holding the intention too that you're only pulling back your energy, what belongs solely to you, nobody else's. Don't bring those people in with you to care for them over here. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Just for this moment, let them have that and you take back what's yours. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Just take a minute. Yeah. Michelle says it's painful to tug on some of those tentacles. Yeah. We have a lot of attachment, right? When things like this happen, even in an individual's life, when there's a lot of trauma or pain or chaos going on in one's life, we do, sorry, take a breath. We do have a tendency to want to take care of everybody. We just reach out and we will sacrifice ourselves to make sure everybody's okay, right? Yeah, I know a few of you on the call. I know you, right? We're the same. We are those people that are caregivers. We feel everyone. We are concerned. And now we are on a global scale. So it's going to be natural that you're going to spread yourself thin. But I'm wanting you just to recognize that you're doing it. And I'm wanting you to recognize just for this moment, it's okay to give them the space to take care of it themselves and pull back in so that you can collect all that you are. Right? It's difficult to have those conversations because it feels selfish. And it is. It is sacredly selfish to pull back your energy and give them space to take care of their energy. It is sacred. So I just want you to breathe into that, okay? Joan says, I don't know how to let go. That's okay, honey. There's another stage to this, right? So for those of you that are feeling the struggle, right? The, oh shit, what happens if I do let go, right? I'd say raise your hands and I could see you, but I can kind of get that more than half of you would raise your hand. What happens if I let them go? Which is what keeps us attached to it, because I can't let go, because then if I let go, they will XYZ. They will die, they will get sick, they will be harmed, they will fail, they will, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens if I let go? Yeah. We're going to do this, guys. It's going to be okay. You're going to do this. Baby steps, one thing at a time. Okay? Take a nice big breath. Yeah, good. So let's just say we're going to say we have the majority of tentacles back. It's okay if there's a couple, because we're going to work on those, okay? We just have the majority of them back. And this one little tiny shift is going to help release more of what's still out there. Release the anxiety around that, okay? So imagine you have all of this energy that you just called back, right? You have it right here, and it's just kind of this, right? It's why we push it away, because it sucks. Just have it, right? Just have it. I want you to take a breath, and I want you to see yourself flip it over and back behind you. And I want you to nestle and rest it between the heart and the spine. It's going to feel super counterintuitive, might be a little weird. You might think I'm a little weird for it. I'm okay with that. Bring it back and down. And I want you to just let it sit there for a minute. You're not putting it in the heart, you're putting it behind the heart. Our heart is overwhelmed as it is. We don't need to bombard it. But we are going to put it in the vicinity to at least let it know, let that ball know we're okay, right? And when you do that, I also want you to take a few breaths, and I want you to kind of see the energetic space of your heart, lung, rib cage area. I want you to open that energetic space and make more room for it. Don't overthink it. Don't get too caught up in the mind about it. Just kind of pretend like you know what I'm talking about if you don't know what I'm talking about. So put it back behind you and make more room for it, because the number one reason we get off alignment out of our center is we constrict and we panic. And when we panic, the ego mind part of us thinks we're in danger, whether we're in danger or not, and it shuts all systems down and it goes into fight or flight mode. So we need to counteract that with breathing and putting that energy where we want it, not where it wants to be. So we are taking charge of our experience right now. Okay? So down and back and make more space. And I feel the pressure. I just want you to notice it and just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge, I feel this. I feel whatever I feel, right? We're not making any of it wrong. And if you'll notice, I haven't given you any affirmations to work with, or we're not going to talk it into a positive state and we're fixing it or healing it or none of that, right? We're simply bringing it into ourselves and acknowledging that that's what it feels like without any making it wrong, right? Right? It feels a little dizzy there. So everyone just kind of take a minute and breathe. So I'm feeling a little dizzy. Yeah, Nikki says can't stop yawning. Yawning is a good sign. Yeah, yawning means energy is moving, right? Because we get tight and we constrict. Yawning, burping, having little tummy gurgles, things like that, that means energy is starting to move. So that's good. Good, good, good. Yeah, feeling heartburn. Got it. Just acknowledge whatever it is. Our habit is to go, that hurts, I don't like it, I'm out, I'm going to go distract. That's humans' way of surviving. That's another level of what's happening right now. We don't really have anywhere to run. We're all locked down. We don't have things to distract us with, right? Not really. Joan, oh honey, I'm so proud of you. Yeah, I hear you, honey. Just keep breathing. If you feel like crying, just cry it out. Yeah, Kim says tearful and nauseated. Yeah. Whatever you're experiencing, I want you to acknowledge it and say, it's going to be a little weird, but say thank you. I hear you. Like just kind of again, close your eyes. And now this is just more of the love of it, right? Thank you. Like I even feel your emotion. Thank you. All of this is trying to help navigate us and we ignore it. These signals aren't wrong. They just hurt because we ignore them. This is one of the few times, right, where we've really just sat and been present to ourselves. Things are going to come up because all the things are like, finally, she's listening. I have this and I have this and I have this. I'm going to tell her and give her a piece of my mind, right? I have conversations with all the little parts of me. Michelle says, I feel a stomach ache and angry. Kim says, didn't know how much this was needed. So proud of you guys. So just keep breathing in that. Keep breathing and opening, even if it's in stages, right? If you can only breathe here, do that. And then right? Just take it in stages. There's no perfect expression that we're going for. I just want you to have more air and more space. So there's no gold star at the end of this. Yeah, yeah, good. Just keep breathing. You guys are doing great. Yeah, right? So now that we have, just for curiosity, feel into the tentacles that are remaining, right? Because some of them should have like weakened and you were able to pull them back. There's this like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't. Oh, okay, fine. And then it gives in, right? So just kind of feel into and just intuit about how many more tentacles you have. And if you don't mind, you don't have to, just type that number in the chat room so I can kind of see, kind of gauge where everyone is. That way I know, like, this is a choose the adventure, then I know what to talk about next. So just feel into yourself. How many tentacles are left? Yeah, Rob says 4 or 5. Katie's 2. Good. 0. Awesome, Nikki. 1 or 2 for Shannon. Hey, Shannon. Joan's about 4, 2. I can't feel anymore. Good. 4, 1. Okay, good. So we're kind of in a range of 0 to 5. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Kristen. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. So we're in a range about 0, which is awesome, right? To 5, it sounds like, which is excellent because we probably had about 30. So yay you, right? So all we're doing, hey, Annie Kate, oh, it's so good to see you, lovelies. So just take a minute and acknowledge what's left, okay? And I want you just to ponder this as the days go by. What are you attached to at the end of that tentacle? Not I'm attached to a person. What are you attached to? What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen if you pull that tentacle back? How will you feel like you failed? What are you afraid of? What's going to be ruined if you do that? So these are big questions. I'm a be in the question person, right? We need to investigate this and find out where we are limiting ourselves and where we're distracting and where we're avoiding. So just the willingness to ask questions is so incredibly brave. So just kind of, you don't have to have answers right now, right? Just kind of over the next few days, what am I attached to? And attached is going to be value or identity based generally. If I pull this back and they get sick, I will be a shitty parent. If I pull this back and they lose their job, I don't know why that popped in my head, then I'm going to be a shitty friend, right? We base our value in how much service we offer. A lot of the time, that's what gets us in trouble, is because we are trying so hard to take care of everyone else, and we think we actually, that we're the reason they're succeeding or staying alive or staying healthy, etc. Right? And there's a whole big box of stuff to unpack in that conversation that we're not really going to cover. So I'm not going to go there. But what I do want you to feel into is, where is your identity in this? I have to because it's my job, because if I don't, then because. Like, there's a lot of identity / value things going on in attachment, right? If I gave away my mandala, I would not have that experience, which then made me not as spiritually awakened. Do you ever go on a vacation and you buy some like tchotchke, you buy like a mug that has the name of the place you visited, right? You have a coffee mug. And let's say one day that coffee mug breaks. Your memories of that trip doesn't go away. Your experience of that moment doesn't cease to exist. these people and things that we're attached to at the end of these tentacles are not going to suddenly die if we take back our attachments. And I don't know who this is, but whoever has this sharp pain, I need you to take some breaths, and I just need you to acknowledge that, because that hurts. That actually feels past life to me. Just kind of, I don't know who you are, clearly. Just kind of feel. Alexander says, so we are looking at the shadow aspect of worry. Yeah, right? Because shadow, anything in shadow is hurting somebody, right? I have 3 questions to help me navigate if I'm in shadow or virtue, because nothing is inherently right or wrong. So the first question is, am I hurting them? And that might not be you walking over and punching them in the face kind of hurting them, but energetically we could be hurting them. We could be stifling them if we don't want them to, like I see helicopter parents being like that, like we can't let them have any experiences. We think we're helping them, but that actually hurts them. The second question is, are they hurting me? And let's say the other person at the end of that tentacle is codependent and we don't realize it. And so we're allowing them to stay attached. They're hurting us. They're draining our vitality. And then the third question is, am I hurting myself? We don't usually ask that question. That's why the guide slipped it in there one day. I was like, oh, that's genius, because I don't really ask that question. You can say yes to any of those 3 questions. You are in the shadow aspect of whatever word, descriptive word you're being. So just a little side note. So our attachment, I gotta check my notes here. I go off script a lot based on what they're talking about. So when we are in this attachment and when we're attached to these outcomes, we're putting our comfort in that we can affect that outcome. We're comforted if we meddle. That's what causes the attachment. And so anywhere where you are feeling the fight and you are saying, well, I can take them all back except for that one. She can't make me take that back. Wherever you're resisting that, that's the biggest one. That's the biggest drain. When you were like, meh, I don't care about all these other ones, but that one, don't you touch that one, right? Have you already gotten mad at me for making you even think about taking it back? I'm okay with that. I get it. How dare I, right? How dare I challenge you? But I know energy, and I know that's the biggest drain. And if you felt like it was a little bit of a panic to take them back, where there's this uncomfortable kind of shake, right? Of being present to this pain, to this discomfort, you felt yourself kind of resisting and shaking, and I don't know, however your experience was with that. I call that riding the bull. You're on the bull. The bull is the biggest thing, right? It's the thing we're resisting, and it's gonna buck. It's gonna fight, and it's gonna kick you off because it wants to stay. But if you can breathe through it and hang in there and ride it out, that bucking, that kicking calms down. And then you can see what's on the other side of it. Have you noticed that? Like if you take that context, when we're resistant to something, we're blind to it. We're like, nope, not looking at that. And we just kind of, nope, la, 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 la. We don't want to talk about it because something is on the other side of it that will actually free us from that bull. And change is scary. And sometimes we don't actually want to do it. So we learn to distract because we don't want to see what's on the other side of that, because it means change. You can't see or you can't unsee what you see, right? Once you know, you know. And there's a lot of resistance around that at any point in time in life, right? Yeah. Taking breaths. You guys are doing so great. I'm so proud of you. So that's what you're attached to. That's where you're putting your comfort in, but it's false comfort. And it's what you're investing your value in, and it's what you're investing your identity in, but it's not real. And it has to go away so that you can remember who you really are. That's not real. Saving the world is not your identity. If it can go away, it's not your value. I work with a lot of empaths, and this is a huge conversation for us, is we place our value in how well we can take care of everybody. It's our job. We're taught that really early. But that's not our value. Anything that can go away is not your value. Anything that can go away is not your intuition. Anything that can go away is not your identity. And that's part of what this shift is in my view. We've put a lot of value in these identity markers, and they're going away because we need to remember who we are. Yeah. And we don't know. That's why we're terrified. We don't know who we are. That's why we're scared. So just want to open up a little bit and ask ask John if there's any questions. Was there anything I missed that looks like it needs to be discussed?
No questions right now. Kim was making a observation, sharing with us, saying that her husband always jokes that she's a superhero here to save the world.
Yeah, I hear that. I feel like that sometimes too. I feel like it's a responsibility, and I've got to do more, and I've got to get out there more, and before I know it, I'm not healthy anymore. I definitely fall in that category. It's this, we're here for service, right? We are wired for connection and service oriented empathy and reciprocity, and like that's in our blood and our DNA and our makeup. It's just that somewhere down the road we forgot to include ourselves in that math. We forgot to check in with ourselves, to have the alignment for ourselves so that we can get out in the world.
Alexandra had a question. She says she's trying to summarize how you define attachment. Attachment is caused by thinking we can affect an outcome? Question.
Yeah, that's definitely the element of it, right? When we have an attachment, there's a lot of layers to this game, and it'll be different based on whatever situation it is. It can be attachment to an item, like how I was talking about my mandala. That is my experience, and so I needed to hang on to that experience, so not give away. So I am putting my power in canvas and paint, right? So there's that. But attachment to outcomes is a different kind of animal, right? Attachment to an outcome means there's a lot of judgment involved. I think it needs to be this way, and I'm going to start working for that. So we get attached to how we think the outcome needs to be or is going to be, and we do not deviate. That is not alignment. How many times in your life you thought the outcome was going to be something, and turns out it wasn't that at all? Something came in and diverted your course beautifully, perfectly, right? We see it the way we see it. Our perception says that's what it is. I'm going to do that. Mix in there our ego. We don't like being wrong, so we're not going to get off course. If we said so, this is what we're going to do. But that doesn't mean it's the truth. And this is where guides kind of come in, and they're like, yeah, we get what you're working towards, but there's this whole other thing over here that you're not seeing. And so they'll come in and kind of nudge you. They'll put intersections in there. You'll meet different people. You'll have kind of these perfectly cataclysmic moments that change your whole course. We have to be willing to have those moments, or we're going to be disappointed, because what we think it is isn't actually what it is. So yeah, it's caused by thinking we can affect the outcome, but it's more of deciding that's the outcome and then not budging. So there's a lot of judgment involved in that, and a lot of will, a lot of force, and a lot of effort. We're forcing the river to flow the way it's not supposed to be flowing. It's a lot of work. Yeah. So going back to the bull, what's important to just kind of cap that conversation, right? Anytime you're butting up against the resistance within, right? And I'm not talking about when you feel guided to not go that direction, because that'll also feel like a no. But the resistance within, right? I know that's going to work for me, but oh, I don't think I should. Or I really need to ask my boss for a raise, but he's probably going to tell me no. And you can feel resistance when you come up to it because it's tight and constrictive, right? So being able to feel into that, number one, knowing that you are in resistance mode, right? But humans have this tendency when we're uncomfortable, we're looking for the exit. We get our exit strategy. We know where the exits are, and we're already looking like this hurts. Rarely do we lean into the uncomfortable and just kind of sit in the uncomfortable to decipher what it is. It's like we put our toe in the water and like, nope, it's too cold. And we just don't even investigate, right? So riding the bull is that. It's sitting with it and riding it until it calms down. The resistance is your part of it, that panicky resistance feel. It's your ego mind trying to protect you because it thinks you're in danger. It's just doing its job. It wants to kick you out so that you're not hurt. But it's not real danger. We got to learn the difference between real and perceived danger. So the wisdom is in being able to sit in it and watch it kind of happen. Watch the shake. Watch the, oh, this hurts in my stomach and my heart, and oh, I don't know what to do. But if you just keep breathing, putting it back behind you, and making space for it, eventually it calms down and you can go, okay, what are we dealing with? What is this? What's on the other side of this? And typically on the other side of that is freedom. Freedom from that panic, from that attachment, from that resistance. If you ride that bull and it settles down, you made it to the other side of it, right? So that, for me, helps that alignment because I want to figure that out. I don't want my resistances being in charge of me. I am the master of my experience. I am the one in charge, not that. But I have to be willing to outwit myself and not get distracted and not listen to, that part of me that just, no, that hurts. Let's just go have some wine and watch a movie and just don't even worry about that. I want to lean into it and go, what is on the other side of this that doesn't want to be found out? Because it's usually an expansive growth moment. Take a moment, just take a breath. Just take a breath in that. Yeah. Our willingness to stay on and ride it through usually leads to freedom. That's typically what's on the other side of that resistance. Freedom from whatever. Freedom from whatever flavor that resistance is telling you is bad, right? Just the freedom. Kim says this was an aha moment. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah. And you can probably see this on an individual level, but now it's like we're thrusted into this collective level. So it's bigger and more important. I want to take a moment and breathe, right? I want you to feel into, now you have all of these tentacles probably pulling back in. Those that aren't willing, we just acknowledge them. We're like, okay, I'm going to work on that, right? You just kind of have this moment, feeling into the back of you, the back of the heart, right? That also strengthens and straightens our frequency. When you put that back and down, because we tend to lean forward in our lives when we're stressed or in fear or go, go, go mode, right? Which is another layer of what's happening for us. There's nowhere to go, right? When you bring that back and down, there's this alignment that happens in the body because your spirit is no longer leaning forward. It's leaning back where it belongs. It's in your body. So just feel the expansiveness of that. Even if you have tentacles, that's okay. I just want you to feel into the totality of you. Feel into the pureness of you, the richness of you. That's you. This is you. And we forget that sometimes, right? We have all these tentacles going out. We forget who we are. Breathing, expanding. Yeah. It's probably really safe to say we all know there's more work to do, right? We're not through this. We're butting up against some pretty big, my guides go deadlines, but don't take that. They're joke. They think they're smart asses. But we're butting up against some pretty hardcore shifts going on, right? And to them, deadlines mean we're on track, right? They're taking back what they said. And so there's definitely some more work to do, right? Now, those of you that know me, some of you don't, and that's okay, but those of you that know me know what I stand for. I hope you know what I stand for. I hope you know what service-oriented place I stand in, right? I want to take you just a smidge further, and what that looks like for me is a 4-week intensive. So how this is going to play out, I have a 4-week, 2 classes a week intensive, and what we're going to be focusing on is the physical. The physicality of us, right? The physical body of us dictates our identity, our strength and security, going back to that root system, how stable we are in the storm, right? It's also our place of safety in our willingness to receive. So it plays a very big role. If we are not safe, we will not be open. If we are not open, we will not receive. And I don't mean receive negative and I just want to receive good. Receiving is a thread that touches all conversations. If you're trying to reject or resist just the bad, you're resisting everything. So love, connection, abundance, intuition. Receiving is receiving is receiving. Okay, so the physicality of us, we're going to be focusing on that to bring it more into an anchored space where you feel safe enough to open yourself back up in the midst of all of this. Because that's what happens. This happened and everyone went, whoop, right? Every one of us did it. We started closing in on our shell. Rightly so, we're in reactionary mode. But I want to bring you into a proactive mode. We're going to be focusing on the emotional center, not to feel more, but to master what you're feeling, to be able to move through the emotional field and guide yourself, lead your life with your emotional guidance system. Not just feel all the feelings, but to know when you're in alignment and when you're not in alignment. Like how I was saying, if I don't have those guideposts of this is alignment and this is not alignment, then I'm flying blind. I don't know where I am in the world. So to be able to check in with, that's aligning. Okay, good, I'll go that way. And then, oh, that's not. I don't know what it is, but I don't need it. There's a lot of wisdom in that, but we've stifled emotional systems, especially our men, right? They're not given the chance to really embrace their emotional field. I want to bring you back to that. Back to a place where you can just acknowledge it and it can guide you, it can lead you. And then the third center we're going to focus on is the mind center, the mental center. The mental center is not necessarily thoughts, facts, figures, logic. That's our ego mind. But I want to help you master being in the higher mind, acknowledging the ego mind and knowing what it is and knowing what it's for, but being able to access that higher mind, which is our internal wisdom. Those three centers, when they're aligned, you are unstoppable, you are unshakable. That's alignment. That's alignment. It's not hard. It's just very foreign for us. We live externally. How are you? Can I do anything for you? How's this? I want that. Oh God, that hurt me. So we're very external beings. It's time to come home. It's time to come home. Because where we're headed, we need this. Like that makes me want to cry with just excitement. So where we're headed in our evolutionary process on this planet, we need this. Because what's coming is going to require this alignment. We're not going to do very well if we don't have it. I feel that in my entire being. So breathe into that. Okay. So the logistics of what it looks like, we're going to meet on Sundays. On the Sunday calls, it's the calls will be on Zoom, right? You can be anywhere in the world. That's what I love about right now is technology is exploding. So we're connecting. But on Sundays, it'll be anywhere from 75 to 90 minutes. We're getting deep in each conversation and really anchoring those topics. And then there's going to be a Thursday morning call, and it's going to be about a 60-minute call to recharge you, to just remember the alignment. I want to establish the alignment, establish the anchor in you, and then give you the recharge, give you the reminder. And those days you should have had enough of an experience where it got messy and you couldn't quite get it and it was rejecting you and all of this, like, I don't know what I'm doing, or totally nailed it, I'm ready for more, like wherever you are with it. But that Thursday morning call is just to recharge and remind and bring you back to that center. And then we'll layer each one like that as we go through the 4 weeks. Okay. Everything is on Zoom. Everything will be recorded. So even if you miss 1 or 2 of the calls, you get access to those. So there's no like, you miss out on the emotional guidance system because you weren't here. So essentially it works out to being 8 classes online. Typically for a 4-week, 8-class intensive, I would do it at $397. I'm doing it for $97 for the entire hours and hours and hours you get to spend with me. Hours and hours that we're going to be doing this. We need this moving forward, and I want to offer it to you. So it's here. So if any of this is aligning with you and you're a yes, John's going to drop in the link for you to go register. And I had a fun idea. If you register right now, the first 15 people, I'm going to do a virtual spiritual gallery. Now, galleries for me are usually done in person. I'm super excited to experiment with you. We're going to do a gallery online since we can't be in person with each other. And it's essentially where I give you readings and we're going to kind of bounce around, clearings based on our conversations in the 8 calls. Some new topics will come up. So it's just this really great gallery. What do they call those? It doesn't matter. Oh, town hall kind of things where we're all in it together. But I'm offering you divine guidance from your guides. So the first 15 get in on that. And yeah, that's it right there. So everything is online. Everything is recorded. You're not going to miss anything. It would be really helpful for you to be there in person because when you're there in person, your guides are with you. That steers the guidance. Because here's the deal on those calls. Some of it will be structured, but a lot of it is going to be guided. Channeled messages, guided meditations, just some practical spiritual disciplines that we're going to be able to get into the alignment with. So, right, we're all going through a shit ton of stuff. So we're all here to help. This is how I can help. This is my wheelhouse. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. So obviously, if you have any questions, you're welcome to type it in the chat room. John knows pretty much everything. If he doesn't know, he'll ask me. So yeah, I want to go into one main component in this time is our willingness to receive. Now, I've done my work. I've had my business going on 14 years now. Classes, readings, galleries, programs, retreats. I mean, the gambit, right? One of the main issues I see in people is their fear of receiving. And we all have a different relationship in that context. Some of us, we don't trust people. So we barrier that. We're like, well, I don't trust people, so I'm not going to receive that. Some of us don't trust events. These failed me. These, disappointed me. I had expectations, and so I don't trust. Some of us don't trust our government. Some of us don't trust the process. We don't trust religion. We don't trust God. We don't trust a lot of things. I remember when I said receiving is receiving is receiving. When we don't trust something, we tend to not trust anything. We want it really badly, and we might act like we trust it, but we really don't. And it's almost like a wagon wheel feel. If you look at all those spokes, I don't trust that, I don't trust that, I don't trust that, I don't trust that. What's at the center of it is you don't trust yourself. We don't let guidance come in because we don't trust ourselves. We don't let people in because we don't trust ourselves. It's a weird conversation because, again, we're such external beings and we've spent so much time not being in our center, being out in the world, that we don't realize that our trust issue is actually with ourselves. Now, I can kind of imagine some of you might be arguing with me. There are times in our lives when we feel victimized. We feel justified in our lack of trust. I totally get it. And I'm not trying to talk you out of that. And as children, we don't have a lot of choice, right? We kind of are at the mercy of our caregivers. So I want to just take that era back and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 15, 16 on, when we actually do have free will. And let's say we walk into a situation where we feel like we should leave, and then we talk ourselves out of it. Or we meet someone and there's red flags and we talk ourselves out of it. Or we go into business deals and we're like, oh, if I just show them I'm committed, maybe they'll be committed. And then we get screwed over. We didn't listen. So all of the times we didn't trust ourselves broke down. Like all of the times we didn't listen and we talked ourselves into our guidance, into our instinct, our gut, our heart. All those times broke down that trust with ourselves. And then we externalized and we projected, well, that's why I don't trust. And this is a major problem. This is a major problem in the circuitry of how we're connected to everything. So number one, where can you forgive yourself for not listening all those times? Number one, right off the bat, are you willing to forgive yourself for the times you didn't listen when you knew something was up? Just kind of breathe into that, right? Just breathe into that. You don't even have to forgive it right now. Just be willing to forgive it at some point. Because when we do that, it opens everything up. It opens up all this connection, right? All of this awareness in us. When we're angry about that and we're beating ourselves up about it, we're essentially saying, I can't let them in because I don't trust myself to have my own back. I don't want them in because I don't trust that I'll speak up if I get hurt. I'll just let them do it. And I know this is a smidge off topic, but it's all connected. It's all connected. We must heal the relationship with trust. Okay? We can't move forward. Not in clarity. We're just more like living like a pinball machine where we just bounce and bump up against things and we have an experience, we don't actually let it in. So having the willingness to receive something means trusting yourself enough to receive it. Just take a breath. Yeah. Take a breath in that. These are the hard things we need to look at. These are the things we avoid. These are the things we don't want to talk about. But these are the things that are hurting us the most. So I want to walk you through something that might help start that pendulum process, right? So some of you, this will be familiar for you, right? But some of you have heard this conversation of, if you know what pendulums are, I'm assuming. They're the ball, like a crystal or something on a chain, and people use them to, I don't know if the technical term is dowsing, but it's essentially getting information using a pendulum. Those of you that know applied kinesiology or muscle testing, it's another variation of that. The pendulum is just an extension of your own internal wisdom. The pendulum itself is not your intuition. Again, if it can go away, it's not your value, but it is an extension of you, right? So if you attune your pendulum to your frequency, it can speak for you. Well, not for you, it can speak with you. So when you get when people get a pendulum, the very first thing they want to do is cleanse it, but then the second thing they want to do is program it. So they would hold it and they would say, show me my yes. And the pendulum moves a specific way. That's the yes. And then it goes, thank you. Okay, now show me my no. And it moves a different way. And so, ta-da, you've programmed the pendulum to give you your yes and to give you your no. Now you can start asking questions and it'll answer. Awesome, right? Then applied kinesiology is around the same concept where people do different kind of muscle testings. You know, if you ever done the arm where people push your arm and they'll get the yes or the no. So anyway, sorry. We'll get back to you, Galen. So whenever you're in the applied kinesiology process, you can lean forward or backwards. It's called the sway test. It gives you your yes, it gives you your no. You can say a truth, and then it'll give you a motion, and that's your yes. And then you say a lie, and then it gives you a different motion, and that's your no. The thing is that you are actually attuned to that wisdom. It's not an external source. You are that wisdom. So what I want you to do, we'll figure out the buy button in a moment. I apologize for that. What I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. I want you to feel into something for me, okay? Get into your body. If you want to touch your heart and your higher heart, you can, just to bring yourself back, bring yourself in. And I want you to remember a time when you got an inspiration and it was accurate and you acted on it and it turned out great. I want you to remember that feeling. I want you to recall, even if you can't verbatim, just touch into the knowing that you had that once. When did you get a feeling? When did you know? And I want you to feel into what your body is reacting to, okay? Feeling into the body indicator. What is that indicator? Sometimes people feel into, they have this flush of energy that comes into them. That's actually my yes, like this water fountain of energy, right? Sometimes they feel a flutter or just a comfort. But I'm wanting you to zero in on the actual visceral feeling that your body is reacting to when you feel into that yes. And type it into the chat room, okay? Type it into the chat room what you feel like that visceral reaction is for you. And I'm gonna step away for a moment and check something out. Just take your time with it. Feel back into the memory of it, right? This is what happens when you rush job things. Feel into the memory. What does it feel like for you? Burst of energy, a smile and saying yes, extreme groundedness in the heart or the heart opening, awesome. Whole body energetic vibration, awesome. And go a little step further. Feel into where it, like if for those of you that had multiple reactions, what was the very first? The very first. The very, very first. Try to zero in on that. That thing is the first thing that happened. And then type it into the chat room. Tingling in the shoulder. Clear view in my mind exactly what was going to happen. Awesome. Legs like running. Electricity but mild. Good, good. Sharpness in my higher heart. Perfect. What I love about body indicator work is it helps us zero in on a response that our physical body is allowing us to express, to experience. Because we're such outside-minded people, we forget to check in. We just go, how's it going? How is it doing? How is this? And we just look out with our outside eyes, right? But what I want to do is turn that in, and what is that first reaction for you? That's your yes. Okay? So we say thank you. Got it? Now, I want you to feel into a moment when you got a no. And I want to clarify this. It's not that you got guidance and you followed it and you failed, quote unquote. It's not that you got a danger signal, like don't walk down that dark alley. Not that bad, right? Because that's usually going to hit in the stomach. Something that you were just, you asked or you knew, no, that's not the direction. That's not the thing. A no is not bad, right? Yeses aren't good and no's aren't bad. No is just a no. But feel into your body, get into your center, and what does that experience feel like? What does your no feel like? And then type it in the chat room when you know. It gets a little bit more confusing in the sense that we're told no is bad or wrong or yucky, but that's not what we're going for here. We're going for just when you knew, no, that's not the direction. We're not going there. And what does that feel like for you? Sometimes nausea, heaviness in the stomach. Yeah, pressure outside the abdomen, pushing from inside out. Good. Ooh, those are good. A thump on the forehead. Boop. That's how I see my guides sometimes. Little jabs on the bottom of the rib cage. Awesome. And I want to make sure we're really clear that those feelings aren't wrong. Because here's the, go back to the conversation I said, whenever we are uncomfortable, we think something is wrong, right? We think something is wrong. Oh, let me see here. I think I did that wrong. We think something is wrong whenever something hurts, whenever something is uncomfortable. And that is not how it goes. Trying to find you guys the code. I apologize. Yeah, tightness in my lower abdomen. Good.
I'm also looking at the back end code, see if I can fix it real quick.
Okay. Are you in my site?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I could just do the PayPal code. Good. Any others? Any other reactions? Alexander says, I think I'm just slow on coming around to the recognizing the no's or the yeses. Gotcha. Yeah, right? Because sometimes it's new. Going within is new, right? And having that trust to lean into one or the other takes practice. So that's what I'm talking about. When you're doing this pendulum work, right? Or muscle testing work, or whatever we want to call it. I just call it pendulum. It takes some time to trust it, because you get the yes or the no, and then it's your job to act on it, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The key around that is to not betray yourself by beating yourself up if you get it wrong. When you feel in and you get a yes and you go for it and it might not work out the way you thought, it doesn't always necessarily mean you got it wrong. Sometimes it means that was the experience it was guiding you towards. Yeah, Michelle says that's tough, because we don't always understand guidance. This is going to go into a whole other realm of conversation. Right now, I just want you focusing on finding that yes or no. That's all I want you focusing on. Because when you're able to lean into that yes, I want you to viscerally feel what it feels like in the body. Because that's going to be your pattern. You're going to feel it. And the more you attune your awareness to it, you're going to feel it every single time. Bing, 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 bing. You're going to feel the yes. And my no feels like this, like my heart, throat area just goes womp. And it's not a pain. It's just no. Just no. Yes, no. Very simple for me. So find that first stage, that first moment for you. That is your navigational beacon. That is how we're going to get through all of this chaos. If we don't have that and we get out there, holy crap, it's going to just sweep us up like the tornado will, because we won't have anything to navigate with. Alexander says, I think my issue is sometimes seeking external signs towards yes or no instead of listening within. Exactly. We are external proof beings. We like having our evidence that that is correct. It's just human. We don't trust ourselves, so we look for the external validation. So like the pulling back I feel in my chest, I'm assuming you mean for your no, right? If it kind of pulls in like that, yeah, it could be your no. The key around that is to watch for it. You don't have to act on it right away. Just watch for the pattern each time it comes up, and then see if you're right. Because we're also healing our relationship with trust, right? We're also healing that space. It's okay if you don't immediately jump in and know for a fact that this is going to work out. You want to heal that relationship with your trust. That's the biggest issue in all of humanity. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our alignment. We don't trust that we know how to be aligned. We are almost all of us living externally, living reactively. If I speak these words and you like it, I know I am good. If I speak words and you reject me, I feel bad. I feel wrong. So we're living in this really strange reactive place of my value is dictated by your receiving of me or your rejection of me. And can you feel how fragile that would be? How fragile that is when we give over that power. We can't do that anymore. We can't give over our value, our identity. We can't leave it to the world to dictate who we are. This is where we are in this time, among other things, right? We've talked about a lot of different layers today, but we are in a time of reclaiming all that we are, reclaiming our energy from all the tentacles we run out, reclaiming our experiences from items and events and vacations. And those aren't our experiences. They're not tied to that thing unless we say it's tied to that thing. So we're doing a lot of reclaiming right now, a lot of going in, which is why a lot of us are uncomfortable. We haven't really sat with ourselves. That's why people collectively in general have trouble with meditation, because meditation is sitting smack dab in the middle of who you are. It's why we're like, oh, I can't focus, I can't concentrate. It's because we don't want to see it. I get it. It's just that we aren't there anymore. We can't be in that anymore. We're not allowed to do that anymore. We've got to come home. We've got to come back to our space. But we've got to trust it. If we don't trust it, we'll just keep jumping out for external validation. We'll just keep jumping out for external justifications and evidence and proof. We've got to get back here, right here. I just want to check in with you. We are about at the time. So I want to open up the lines. If you have a question, let's do it this way, since I can't see all of you. If you have a question and you want to talk with me, do a question mark in the chat room. And then that way I'll know, we'll do it in order that way. If you have a question about anything I've shared, maybe how that was for you. Was it, where are you? What's on your heart? What do you need? How can I support you in this? Just take a moment and take a breath. I'm gonna take a drink. Yeah. How are you doing? How are you doing? Anyone have a question? Just feeling into the silence of it too, right? Can you feel that? That's very fascinating. I want you to feel into the silence. It's like collectively there's silence. Yeah. Breathe into it, right? Anytime you have an awareness or anytime you have an aha moment, breathe into it. The breathing into it makes space for it, and it can drop down in you even further, and it can anchor as a truth. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, Ruby. Really needed to hear this and open to trusting myself. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a space here, right? Breathe. Breathe into it. Yeah. Okay, so if there's no questions, yeah, Kim says I've been working on trust. I see trust as being one of the great missteps that we do. The word trust is a funny word in our language, right? Society says that good people trust, that you should just trust. And yet we have a lot of evidence why we can't, right? There's that projection of like this, and this is why I don't trust. We get comfortable with that. But we don't take it the step further and say, and not where did I allow it, but where did I allow it? That's where the trust gets broken. How many times we don't speak up when we know we, and just simple things, like even when someone cuts you off in mid-sentence and we just let it happen, and you let it happen, you let it happen, you let it happen. That's betraying yourself. You are watching you saying, it's probably better that you don't talk because I don't trust that you're actually going to be your truth. Or how we dumb ourselves down, or how we under intellectualize ourselves and we under celebrate ourselves because of, you know, what people are going to think, etc. So what do you do when you try to trust and you feel the no? It's a no, right? The no is not bad. The no is not a bad thing. The no is no. Trust your no. And I'm assuming you're talking about if you want to trust other people, then trust your no, but watch them a little bit more carefully, right? You don't have to be right. You don't have to be wrong. If you get an inkling, you just watch them a little bit more closely to see if your no was accurate. And Laura says, I want to trust others even when I get a no. Yeah, what if the no is for yourself? I don't know what that means. Michelle, do you mind expanding on that? It's as if you know me, Kim. I might know these conversations pretty well. Joan says, I do have a lot of trust issues. I am sure I also don't trust myself. I'm trying to work on this also. I would suggest work on self-trust only. If you're going to pick something, focus on that only. Do that first, and then that will come. But if we're trying to work on all of it all at the same time, it's too overwhelming. We won't be able to do it all. So just pick one thing. I'm going to trust myself. When I get a yes, I'm going to do yes. When I get a no, I'm going to do no. Keep it simple. When you work on one thing at a time, oh, I think my hubby fixed the link. When you work on one thing at a time, you work on it and you implement it. And now you're ready. Oh, I'm going to work on this now. And you implement it. You build it like a skyscraper. One floor at a time. We don't have to just like instant building, right? Give yourself a little bit of a break there, but start working on something. And trust is actually a really good place to do that. Yeah. So pick one thing. Kristen says, I feel like the last 6 or 7 years has been a lesson in discernment. And this is the cherry on top. I'm at peace with that. Totally, right? Right. Discernment, guidance, for me, they kind of go hand in hand. Discernment can get a little sketchy because it's also ego. There's some ego in there a little bit. My whole goal is to connect people to their guidance, because guidance is, this is what I know right now and I don't know why. Discernment wants to know why. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. No, I'm getting registrations. Maybe try it with a different browser, Kim. Sometimes that works too. Sometimes that works. So since we have so much trouble with the registration, I'm going to go ahead and leave registration open for the next, and what I mean is the first 15 people, no matter what time it is, right? And so the first 15 people get that special virtual gallery, which I'm super stoked to do because I love experimenting with my stuff. I'm so excited to do that with you guys. And if there are no questions, I don't know. I just feel like I feel very, very grateful for this. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. If there's anything I can do to support you, please let me know. You can email me. If there's any like questions that came up today that maybe were like super personal and you didn't want to type them in, feel free to email me, right? We're gonna get through this thing together. We all have a part to play. Your part is just as valuable as everyone else's. So if you need support in that, if you need some skill building and some tool set strengthening, if this is a yes for you, then join me for the next 4 weeks. Because that's everything we talked about today. We're going to be really nailing into the ground hardcore, because what's coming, we need this. We need this. We need this. I don't know how many times my guides keep going. This is what you've trained for. This is what you've trained for. So that tells me something amazing is happening. I know there's a lot going on, but on this level, that's amazing. Something amazing is shifting for us. And it's time to get ready for that. Right? Yeah. John, did you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to thank everyone for private messaging me and telling me about the button not working. I think that's the fastest I've logged in and corrected a error code in my life. It's working. You do have to. I know. I'm like, oh my god. When you get to it, make sure you do the little drop down for the quantities, because it defaults to no ticket, and then you have to change it to like 1 ticket or 2 ticket. If you allow it to just default, if you just hit buy, it's not going to have anything in the shopping cart. So that might be the error that the other person was getting. Make sure you change it to like a quantity and then hit buy, and it should work.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for that. Yeah, thanks for your patience. I totally thought I had it all worked out. And thank you, John, for being so awesome at all of that stuff. Good, good. Yeah, thank you too. Thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful for you guys too. Like, I can't play unless you play with me. Like, that's what I love about these things. Like, thank you for being here and taking some time out of your evening to just connect with me, right? So I would say be looking at your tentacles, because it's still going to happen, right? We have such ingrained habits. So just every now and then touch and just, oh, okay, I feel a little spread out. Bring them back in. Remember, bring them back and down behind you and make space for them. That is an alignment, quick, just quick and dirty. And then it sets you for being able to go, what is this? What am I looking at? What am I resisting, etc. But if we don't get in alignment, you're going to get answers from your ego self. You're not going to get them from your higher self. If you get into alignment, when you go into questions, you'll get truth. But if you ask questions from stress, fear, worry, panic, you're only going to get the ego saying you're going to die. You need to blah, blah, blah. So we don't want to be in that space when we ask questions. So practice your down and back, practice the breathing and opening, and then practice your pendulum. I would love to hear how those go for you. If you're willing to share anytime down the road, I'd love to hear. And then, of course, if you have questions or you need anything and I can support you, I'm happy to do so. So much love to all of you. I freaking appreciate you. Go have a lovely evening and we'll see each other again. Bye, guys.